Why did you only invite me? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Reid paused with one hand on the rope, sunlight catching the side of his face as he looked back at me. For a second, he didn't answer. Then his mouth pulled into a small, unreadable smile. Maybe I didn't want anyone else here. My stomach dropped, which was ridiculous. It was 8 in the morning, we were standing at a marina in Annapolis, and my straight friend was probably just being nice. Reid was always nice. That was the problem. You're early, he added, turning back to the boat. You told me 8. Most people hear 8 and show up at 8:15. Most people don't threaten to leave without me. He laughed under his breath. That was motivational. I stepped onto the boat carefully, gripping the railing harder than necessary. It was an older 24-foot cruiser Reid had spent nearly a year fixing with his dad. He talked about that boat constantly. The engine, the wiring, the cracked seats he replaced himself. I knew more about marine repairs than any graphic designer should. What I didn't know was why, after all that work, I was the first person he wanted on board. Reid reached for my arm when the boat shifted beneath me. His hand closed just above my elbow. Warm, steady. He didn't let go right away. Neither of us moved. Then he cleared his throat and stepped back. Still got your sea legs? I've never had sea legs. Good. Makes this more entertaining. I rolled my eyes, trying to ignore the way my skin still felt warm where he'd touched me. Near the console sat 2 coffees and a paper bag from Harbor Street Cafe. I stared at the cup with my name written across the side. Oat milk. 2 sugars. Exactly how I ordered it. You got my coffee? Reid shrugged while checking a gauge. You're useless before caffeine. You remembered my order. Cameron, we've been friends for 3 years. Right. Friends remembered things. Friends bought each other coffee. Friends invited each other onto boats alone. None of it meant anything. That was what I kept telling myself. I picked up the cup and noticed a folded gray hoodie beside it. What's this? It gets cold out there. I brought a jacket. Reid glanced at the thin denim jacket I was wearing, then gave me a look. That thing is decorative. I laughed despite myself. And you just happened to bring one in my size? It's mine. That somehow made it worse. I looked away before he could see anything on my face. The engine came alive beneath us, low and steady, and Reid moved around the deck with the kind of confidence that made normal things annoying. He untied the last rope, then looked at me. Ready? I should have said yes. Instead, I glanced toward the empty dock behind us. Seriously, though, none of the guys wanted to come. His expression shifted. Not much. Just enough. I didn't ask them. My chest tightened. Oh, is that weird? No, too fast. I took a sip of coffee to cover it. Just surprised. Reid watched me for a second, his eyes staying on mine long enough to make the marina feel strangely quiet. Then he faced the water and eased the boat away from the dock. Good, he murmured. Because I wanted this to be just us. The words stayed between us even after the dock disappeared behind the boat. I wanted this to be just us. I repeated it in my head until it stopped sounding real. Reid stood at the wheel with one hand resting loosely on the throttle, sunglasses pushed up into his hair. He looked calm, completely normal, like he had not just said something that made my pulse jump for no good reason. I sat beside him, coffee warming my hands. So what is my job? He glanced over. Try not to fall overboard. Great. I feel useful already. You can steer in a minute. I laughed. That feels irresponsible. I trust you. The answer came too quickly. Reid seemed to notice because his eyes shifted back to the water. Mostly. There it was. The joke. The easy exit. I held on to it. A few minutes later, he slowed the boat and motioned me over. Come here. My stomach tightened. It was 2 words. Normal words. Still, I stood carefully and moved beside him. Reid stepped behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him through my jacket. Keep both hands here, he murmured, guiding them onto the wheel. His fingers settled over mine. Small movements. Do not fight it. I tried to focus on the water. I really did. But his chest was inches from my back, and his voice had gone quieter in that way that made everything feel more private. Like this. A little left. He moved my hand with his. His thumb brushed across my knuckle. Probably an accident. It had to be. The boat shifted smoothly, but my grip tightened anyway. Reid noticed. Of course he did. Relax, Cameron. I am relaxed. You are holding the wheel like it insulted your mother. I let out a nervous laugh. Maybe I take boating seriously. You are doing fine. He did not move away. That was the problem. He could have stepped back. There was plenty of room. Instead, his hand stayed over mine for another second. Then another. When he finally let go, the air felt colder. See? He leaned against the console beside me. Natural. You say that now. Wait until we hit something. There is nothing to hit. That sounds exactly like something people say before hitting something. Reid smiled, but his eyes stayed on me. Not the wheel. Not the water. Me. I looked away first. My throat had gone dry, so I took another sip of coffee, even though it was nearly empty. You nervous? About crashing your boat? A little. Not what I meant. I turned toward him. What did you mean? Reid looked out across the bay, jaw shifting slightly like he was deciding whether to say something. Then he shrugged. You have been weird all morning. I have not. You have. Maybe because you kidnapped me before breakfast. He nodded toward the paper bag. I bought breakfast. That does not make it less suspicious. A quiet laugh escaped him. Then he looked at me again. Are you seeing anyone? My hand slipped slightly on the wheel. Reid reached out fast, closing his hand over mine to steady it. His fingers stayed there. Easy. I am fine. You sure? I could not tell which question he meant anymore. I swallowed. No. I am not seeing anyone. Something changed in his face. Small. Quick. Relief, maybe. Or maybe I was imagining it because I wanted to. Good, he said softly. Then his eyes dropped to where our hands were still touching. He pulled away, but not before his thumb moved once across the side of my hand. I mean, good to know. By the time Reid dropped anchor in a quiet cove, I had almost convinced myself the hand thing had been nothing. Almost. Then he opened the cooler and pulled out my exact sandwich order from Harbor Street Cafe. Turkey, avocado, no tomato, extra mustard. I stared at it. You are making this difficult. Reid handed it over, one eyebrow lifting. Making what difficult? Believing you invited me out here to help test the boat. His hand stopped halfway back to the cooler. For 1 second, the joke just sat there between us. He did not laugh. Neither did I. Then he looked down and reached for his own lunch. Maybe I had more than one reason. My chest tightened. I waited for him to explain, but he sat on the bench across from me and unwrapped his sandwich like he had not just shifted the entire morning. The boat rocked gently beneath us. Our knees bumped once under the small table. I moved mine back. Reid did not. You always remember everyone's food order? I tried to sound casual. No, just mine. He took a bite, watching me over the edge of the wrapper. You are picky. It becomes memorable. There was the escape. I nodded like that answer made sense, even though he had also brought my coffee, a hoodie, and enough snacks for a weekend. We ate for a minute in silence. Not awkward exactly, just too aware. Reid leaned back, one arm stretched along the seat behind him. So why are you not dating anyone? I nearly choked on my drink. You really came back to that. You dodged it earlier. I answered. You said you were not seeing anyone. That is not the same thing. I looked out at the water. Maybe I have terrible judgment. That I believe. I kicked his shoe lightly beneath the table. He smiled, but it faded when I did not. Seriously. His voice softened. What is the reason? I peeled at the corner of my sandwich wrapper, suddenly very interested in the paper. Dating is complicated. For everyone. Not like this. Reid went still. I could feel him watching me. Because you are gay? There was no discomfort in the question. Just care. That somehow made it harder. Partly. I swallowed. Mostly because I keep liking guys who are not available. His knees shifted against mine again. This time, neither of us moved. Unavailable how? I let out a small laugh. You know? Straight. Dating someone. Emotionally impossible. Pick one. Reid's jaw tightened slightly. Someone specific? My pulse jumped. Why do you care? I am curious. You have been very curious today. He looked away toward the shoreline, but not before I caught something flicker across his face. Maybe I should have asked sooner. That was too honest. I set my sandwich down. There is someone. Reid turned back immediately. Do I know him? I am not telling you that. Why not? Because it does not matter. It matters to you. His voice was quieter now. That should count for something. I stared at him, heart pounding hard enough to make me feel stupid. He would never see me that way. Reid held my gaze. The air between us seemed to narrow. Then he leaned forward, close enough that our knees pressed together beneath the table. How do you know he does not? For a second, I forgot how to breathe. Reid was still leaning toward me, his knees pressed against mine, waiting for an answer I did not have. Or maybe I had one. I just could not say it without changing everything. Because I know him, I managed. That is not an answer. It is the only one you are getting. His mouth twitched, but the smile never fully appeared. He looked like he wanted to push harder. Instead, his phone buzzed against the table. The screen lit up between us. Madison. I saw the name before Reid turned it over. That should not have bothered me. They had dated. People stayed in touch. It was normal. Still, something cold settled in my chest. I pulled my knee away and started folding the empty sandwich wrapper. You can answer it. Reid watched me. I do not need to. I did not say you needed to. Cameron. What? My voice came out sharper than I meant. Reid leaned back slowly. You got quiet. I am eating. You stopped eating 5 minutes ago. I looked down at the crumpled wrapper in my hands. Maybe I ran out of things to say. His phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, then back at me. Madison left a box at my apartment. She wants to pick it up tomorrow. Okay. That is it. You do not have to explain. Something in his expression tightened. Maybe I want to. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Why? Reid went still. The question landed harder than I expected. His fingers rested near mine on the table, close enough that one small movement would have made them touch. You tell me, he murmured. My heart started pounding. You are the one explaining your ex to me. And you are the one acting like it bothers you. I looked at him. Really looked at him. There was no teasing in his face now. No easy smile. Just that same focused expression he had worn when he asked whether I was seeing anyone. Does it? His voice dropped. I should have lied. I had been lying to him for almost 2 years. One more time should have been easy. It does not matter. Reid's hand shifted across the table. His fingertips brushed mine. Neither of us pulled away. That is not what I asked. The boat moved gently beneath us, but everything else felt perfectly still. I could hear my own breathing. I could see the tiny line between his eyebrows, like he was just as nervous as I was. We are friends, I whispered. His fingers slid against mine, almost closing around my hand. Almost. Maybe that is the problem. My throat went dry. Reid looked down at our hands, then back at my face. His eyes dropped for half a second. To my mouth. I stopped moving. So did he. The space between us disappeared slowly, one careful inch at a time. Then his phone rang. The sound cut through the silence so sharply that we both jerked back. Reid grabbed it, jaw tight, and declined the call without checking the screen. I stood too quickly, needing distance, and nearly knocked my drink over. I should check the anchor. Cameron. I turned toward the front of the boat. It is fine. Behind me, Reid let out a slow breath. No, he said quietly. It is not. Before I could answer, a horn sounded somewhere behind us. Reid glanced over my shoulder and muttered something under his breath. A white fishing boat was cutting across the cove, and one of the guys near the bow was waving like he knew us. Is that Travis? I asked. Reid's shoulders tightened. Yeah. Travis worked with him at the marina. Loud, friendly, and apparently incapable of minding his own business. The boat slowed as it came closer. Lawson, Travis called. You finally took the old thing out. Reid lifted one hand. Looks that way. Travis grinned, then noticed me. His expression changed immediately. Not surprised. Interested. Cameron, right? That is me. Did not know this was a private cruise. The two guys behind him laughed. Heat climbed up my neck. Reid did not. It is not a cruise. Sure. Travis looked between us, enjoying himself way too much. You bring all your buddies breakfast. Or is he special? My stomach dropped. I waited for Reid to laugh it off. That was what he normally did when someone got too close to the truth. Instead, he stared at Travis with a look that made the other man's grin fade slightly. Do you need something? Just saying hello. Travis raised both hands. Relax. One of the guys beside him leaned over. Madison know you are out here playing captain with someone else. The cold feeling in my chest came back instantly. Reid's jaw flexed. Madison and I are not together. I know. I know. Travis's eyes moved to me again. Still, people are going to talk. The words were casual. Almost joking. They did not feel casual at all. Reid went quiet. Not angry this time. Careful. That hurt more than I wanted it to. I stepped toward the anchor line. We should probably head back soon. Reid looked at me. We do not have to. Weather is changing. It was not. The sky was clear except for a few clouds in the distance. Travis gave a short whistle. All right. We will leave you two alone. His boat pulled away, laughter carrying behind it. I kept my eyes on the rope. Cameron. What? Do not do that. Do what? Shut down because Travis is an idiot. I turned toward him. He is your coworker. That does not make him less of an idiot. He is also right. Reid's expression hardened. About what? People talking. I hated how small my voice sounded. You have a life here. Friends. Your job. Everyone knows you as the guy who dates women. So maybe you do not want them looking at you differently, because you took me out alone. Reid stared at me for a long moment. The distance between us felt wider than the whole cove. Is that what you think this is? I do not know what this is. Neither do I. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. That does not mean I am ashamed of being here with you. You went quiet. Because I was deciding whether throwing Travis overboard would get me fired. A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Reid's face softened, but only for a second. Then his phone buzzed again. This time he checked it. A group chat notification filled the screen. Travis had already sent a picture of our boat with the message. Lawson finally found someone worth leaving the dock for. My chest tightened. Reid read it, then locked the phone. You should answer before they make it weird. He looked at me like I had missed something obvious. Cameron, they already made it weird. Exactly. No, he stepped closer, lowering his voice. What is making this weird is you acting like I should deny wanting you here. I forgot how to breathe. Reid seemed to realize what he had said at the same moment I did. His eyes widened slightly, but he did not take it back. Then thunder rolled somewhere beyond the bay, low and distant. Reid looked toward the darkening horizon. We need to get below deck, he murmured. Now. The first drops hit the deck before either of us moved. Reid grabbed the hoodie from beside the console and pushed it into my hands. Put this on. I am fine. Cameron. The way he said my name shut down the argument. I pulled the hoodie over my head while he secured the cooler and checked the anchor line. Rain started coming harder, sharp against the windshield. Reid caught my wrist and guided me toward the small cabin below deck. Watch your step. The space inside was tighter than I remembered. One narrow bench. A storage compartment. Barely enough room for both of us to stand without touching. Reid closed the hatch behind us, and suddenly the rain sounded louder, drumming against the roof while the boat rocked beneath our feet. I sat on the bench. He stayed near the door, one hand braced against the wall. For a while, neither of us spoke. I could still hear his words in my head. Deny wanting you here. I tugged at the sleeves of his hoodie. They covered half my hands. You did not have to say that. Reid looked over. Say what? You know what? No. I want to hear you say it. My chest tightened. That you wanted me here. His expression softened, but he did not look away. I did. As a friend. The words came out flatter than I meant. Reid exhaled slowly and sat beside me. Our shoulders touched. There was nowhere else for them to go. You keep deciding what I mean before I get to explain it. Because you do not explain anything. I am trying. You invited me on a boat, bought my breakfast, asked who I am dating, almost held my hand, and then went silent when your friends noticed. Reid stared at the floor for a second. I went silent because they noticed before I was ready. My pulse jumped. Ready for what? He rubbed his palms against his jeans, nervous in a way I had never seen before. Reid was never nervous. Not around engines. Not around strangers. Not around anyone. For someone to look at us and say it out loud. I swallowed. Say what out loud? His eyes lifted to mine. That this does not feel like friendship anymore. The cabin seemed to shrink around us. I could hear the rain. His breathing. My own heartbeat beating too fast. Reid, I know what everyone thinks I am. He looked away, jaw tight. I know what I have always thought I was. But I also know I have been finding reasons to text you every day. I know I get irritated when you mention other guys. I know I bought that stupid oat milk coffee because you once told me regular milk ruins your morning. A small, helpless laugh left him. And I know I did not want anyone else on this boat. I could not move. Reid turned toward me fully, one knee pressing against mine. So no, you are not imagining it. His voice dropped. And I do not want to go back to pretending everything is normal. My throat went dry. What does that mean? I do not know yet. His eyes searched mine. That is the truth. The boat shifted suddenly beneath us. I stood too fast, lost my balance, and Reid caught me by the waist. My hands landed against his chest. For 1 second, neither of us moved. His grip stayed firm. Too firm to be casual. His face was close enough that I could see the rain caught in his hair. Tell me to let go, he whispered. I should have. Instead, I looked at his mouth. Reid noticed. His breath caught. Then his eyes lifted back to mine. That is what I thought, he murmured. For one dangerous second, I thought Reid was going to kiss me. His hand was still around my waist. Mine were still against his chest. Neither of us looked away. Then the boat rocked again, harder this time, and something metal clattered in the storage compartment behind us. Reid blinked like he had just remembered where we were. His grip loosened. I should check the anchor. The words hit colder than the rain. I stepped back immediately. Right. He opened the hatch and climbed onto the deck without looking at me. I stayed in the cabin, wearing his hoodie, feeling like an idiot. Of course he had pulled away. Saying he did not want things to feel normal was not the same as wanting me. Maybe he was confused. Maybe the storm, the boat, and Travis's stupid message had pushed him into saying things he would regret once we were back on land. By the time Reid returned, his hair was soaked and his shirt clung to his shoulders. He shut the hatch behind him and grabbed a towel from the shelf. Anchor is holding. Good. My voice sounded distant, even to me. Reid dried his face, watching me over the towel. You are doing it again. Doing what? Leaving without going anywhere. I folded my arms. You pulled away. His expression shifted. The boat moved. Sure. Cameron. It is fine. Stop saying that. The frustration in his voice made my chest tighten. What do you want me to say? That I thought you were about to kiss me, and then you practically ran outside. Reid went completely still. I regretted it immediately. Forget it. I moved toward the other end of the bench, but he caught my hand. Not tightly, just enough to stop me. I was about to. My pulse jumped. Then why did you leave? He looked down at our hands. His thumb rested against my knuckles, but it did not move. Because if I kissed you, I knew I would not be able to pretend it was nothing afterward. I swallowed. Would that be so bad? Reid's jaw tightened. What happens when we go back? We get off the boat. You know what I mean. He released my hand and leaned against the wall, putting distance between us again. Travis already sent that picture to half the marina. My parents still ask when I am getting back together with Madison. My friends think they know everything about me. And you are scared they will be wrong. I am scared I am wrong. That hurt, even though I understood it. I looked down at the sleeves covering my hands. About me? Reid's head snapped up. No, it sounded like it. He crossed the small space between us, stopping just short of touching me. I am not confused about wanting you here. I am confused about what happens after I admit why. The rain softened above us. For the first time since he came back inside, his expression looked less guarded. You are my closest friend, Cameron. If I handle this badly, I do not just lose a chance at something. I lose you. You could lose me by acting like none of this happened. His eyes closed briefly. When he opened them, the fear was still there. So was something else. I know. My phone buzzed inside my jacket. A message from our group chat lit the screen. Travis had added me to the joke now. Cameron, blink twice if Captain Lawson kidnapped you for a date. Reid saw it. His face fell. I am sorry. For inviting me? For making you part of something I do not know how to explain. I stared at him, suddenly tired of guessing. Then do not explain it to them. I stepped closer. Explain it to me. Reid looked at my face for a long time. Then his hand lifted, hesitated, and gently closed around mine. I am scared, he admitted. His fingers tightened. But I am more scared of getting back to shore, and watching you walk away like this meant nothing. Reid's hand stayed wrapped around mine. Warm. Unsteady. That was the part that got me. Reid was never unsteady. Then stop acting like it meant nothing, I said. His eyes lifted to mine. I am not. You keep pulling away. Because I am trying not to ruin this. You already changed it. The words came out before I could soften them. Reid went quiet. Rain tapped lightly against the roof now, slower than before. I could feel his thumb resting against the side of my hand. Not moving. Just there. When? He murmured. When did I change it? I let out a breath and looked down. I do not know. Maybe when you started texting me every morning. Maybe when you drove across town because I mentioned my car sounded weird. Maybe when you remembered my coffee order after hearing it once. A small smile touched his mouth, then disappeared. You noticed all that? I noticed everything. The confession sat between us. Too honest to take back. Reid stepped closer. Our knees almost touched. Then you know this is not new for me either. My chest tightened. Do I? He looked frustrated, but not with me. With himself. I have been trying to figure out why every date felt wrong after an hour, but sitting on your couch doing nothing felt right. He paused. Swallowed. Why I kept checking who you were talking to. Why I hated hearing about guys I had never met. You never acted jealous. I am apparently better at lying than I thought. Not that good. That pulled a quiet laugh from him. It faded fast. His grip tightened around my hand. I do not know what label makes sense yet. I am not asking for one. I know. He looked at me carefully. But I need you to understand that I am not doing this because I am bored or curious or stuck on a boat with you. Then why are you doing it? Reid's breathing changed, just slightly. His eyes dropped to our hands, then back to my face. Because I think about you when you are not there. He moved closer. Because when Travis joked about us, part of me panicked. Another step, and part of me was relieved someone else could see it. My pulse jumped. See what? Reid lifted his free hand and touched the edge of the hoodie near my shoulder. His fingers stayed there, careful, that you are not just my friend. Neither of us moved. The cabin felt too small for the silence between us. Say it clearly, I whispered. His jaw tightened. Cameron, I am done guessing. Reid closed his eyes for half a second. When he opened them, there was no joke left in his face. No exit. I want you. My breath caught. He kept going before fear could stop him. I do not know what happens next. I do not know what I tell everyone. But I know I invited you because I wanted you alone. I know I almost kissed you earlier. His thumb brushed over my knuckles. And I know I still want to. I stared at him. Then why are we still talking? Reid let out a nervous breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Because I need to know you want it too. I stepped into the space he had been too afraid to cross. Our hands were still joined between us. I have wanted it for 2 years. His expression changed completely. Surprise first, then something softer. 2 years. Do not make me repeat it. I was not going to. His hand rose slowly to the side of my neck, giving me every chance to move. I did not. Reid leaned closer, stopping just before our faces touched. Tell me to stop, he whispered. I tightened my fingers around his. I am not going to. Reid kissed me before I could lose my nerve. It was careful, almost uncertain. His hand stayed at the side of my neck while the other held mine between us, like he was afraid I might disappear if he let go. For a second, I forgot about the rain, the boat, Travis, everything waiting for us back on shore. Then Reid pulled away just enough to look at me. His eyes searched my face. Was that okay? I laughed once, mostly because my chest felt too tight for anything else. You really picked now to become cautious? Relief broke across his face. Small. Real. I am serious. So am I. I tightened my hand around his. It was okay. He leaned his forehead against mine and let out a breath that sounded like he had been holding it for months. Maybe he had. The rain eased not long after that. We went back above deck without saying much. We did not need to. Reid pulled up the anchor while I stood beside the console in his hoodie, watching the cove open around us again. On the way back, he kept finding small reasons to touch me. A hand at my back when the boat shifted, his fingers brushing mine when he passed me the coffee thermos. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make it clear neither of us was pretending anymore. The marina came into view too soon. So did real life. Trucks in the parking lot, people on the docks, Travis standing near the repair shed with 2 other guys. Reid saw them. I felt his whole body tense beside me. Our hands were resting close on the seat between us. Not touching. I told myself I understood. He had been honest about being scared. I was not going to ask him to become someone else in one afternoon. Still, when the boat bumped gently against the dock, that old fear came back. Maybe the cove had been its own world. Maybe once we stepped off, everything would shrink back into friendship. Reid tied the first rope, then looked at me. You are doing it again. Doing what? Leaving before you leave. I glanced toward Travis. I am giving you room. Reid followed my eyes. For a moment, he did not move. Then he stepped back onto the boat and held out his hand. Not because I needed help. We both knew that. Come on, he murmured. I looked at his hand. Reid. I know. Travis was close enough to see us now. So were the guys beside him. Reid kept his hand there anyway. I placed mine in his. He helped me onto the dock, but he did not let go when both my feet were steady. Travis's eyebrows lifted. Reid ignored him. His fingers stayed locked with mine as we walked toward the parking lot. My heart was pounding, but for once, I did not want it to stop. Near my car, Reid finally turned to face me. Dinner tomorrow? Is this another boat test? No boat. Breakfast included? If you behave. I smiled. So this is a date. He looked nervous again. Then he squeezed my hand. Yeah. One simple word. No speech. No perfect explanation. Just a choice. Okay, I whispered. Then yes. Reid smiled and stepped closer, still holding my hand in the middle of the parking lot where anyone could see. We did not figure everything out that day. He still had questions. So did I. But that was not the part one remembered most. I remembered the way he did not pull away when we reached the shore. For almost 2 years, I thought the dangerous thing was wanting someone who could never want me back. I was wrong. The dangerous thing was how easy it would have been for both of us to keep pretending, and how close we came to doing exactly that.